Mark Biel, welcome back to the Illinois Channel. Good to see you. We haven't had a chance to talk recently. One of the things we wanted to talk about as we look at the landscape of issues the legislature is handling. Certainly there's going to be a capital bill, the budget will be coming out. But one of the ones that could have a huge impact on the overall economy is some changes that are being discussed in the energy field. And this can get to be complicated. We're going to try to keep it pretty simple. If you would, can you give us an overview of as you understand it, what's happening?
Well, Terry, the chemical industry has done very well in Illinois over the last decade. We've now grown to be the second largest manufacturing sector in the state of Illinois. We employ over 46,000 people. A lot of the growth and change that's occurred in the chemical industry is a result of competitive electricity prices in our state. A grave concern to the industry has been some recent developments that have occurred where you have legislation that has passed previously in 2011. Essentially, it was a formula rate for the utilities to recover some of their distribution costs that was built into the system, as well as the Future Energy Jobs Act, FEJA, that passed in 2016, that also put into place some rate increases going forward. And we've done some analysis and shown that we're looking at between 2013 and 2027 that the utilities will recover almost $20 billion in money from ratepayers, including residential, commercial, and industrial classes. It's significant impact on the chemical industry at a time when, one of the best things we've got going on in this state has been competitive electricity prices. And these are costs now that are built into the system going forward. And so what we've asked legislators to do is before you move forward with a number of these proposals that have been floated, there's about 5 altogether, before you go forward, keep in mind that there's already costs built into the system that haven't even taken place yet.
Already baked into the pie, so to speak.
Correct.
How, with all the negative things we hear about, about Illinois and trying to do business here, from the property taxes, the work comp, and the rest. So you're saying that one of the few things that make us competitive and is a good thing for the economy is the lower cost energy prices. People might remember that around 2007 we deregulated electric, and that had, I think, a very positive impact on the rates, did it not?
Right, well, correct. Well, and Terry, to go back further, many folks would remember in the early 90s, ComEd's rates were some of the highest in the country. And one of the reasons that industry and business pushed to deregulate the market in 1995, which it actually, the law took effect in 97, and we started bearing full fruition of that whole law in 2007. And as a result, Illinois industry has flourished. If you're an energy-intensive manufacturer, you've generally done well over the last 10 to 12 years in the state of Illinois.
So one of the things I know, there is a coalition of environmental groups. The Illinois Environmental Council came out with a proposal that we should basically not have fossil fuels by, I believe it was 2030. Is that one of the bills that you're concerned about going forward?
Correct, yeah, because ultimately at the end of the day, you have to have base load power. You have to have nuclear, natural gas, coal, all of the above, essentially, in order to support a wind and solar infrastructure. And in order to achieve what the environmental community would like to do, those costs have to be borne by someone. And with the costs that are already baked into the system through formula rate and FEJA from 2016, what we're looking at is additional cost on top of those in order to fund a lot of these renewable programs and the quote-unquote carbon-free by 2030, which we view as frankly just unrealistic.
The other thing I would say, it's people often, when they think of wind and solar as an alternative, I think they're sitting there in their chair watching television, and they think in terms of having their lamp or their kitchen lights go on. They don't tend to think, as your industry, the major employers who are running an industrial society. So electricity in many of our factories can be one of the major costs, right?
Oh, correct. Sometimes after labor and raw materials, energy is generally the second or third largest cost, especially for the chemical industry. Very energy intensive. We use a lot of natural gas. We use a lot of electricity. And it's one of those, as you pointed out, Illinois has a number of challenges. whether it's high workers' comp, our tax structure. But one of the benefits we do have is competitive electricity rates. And when you're looking to invest money in a state, whether it be Illinois, Texas, Louisiana, one of the things you look at is the cost of electricity and the overall cost. It means distribution and power, those costs together. And what we're finding is while the cost of electricity is actually declining slightly, the distribution cost has gone up dramatically. And that's what we've been very concerned about, is that there just seems to be, a 6-7% increase in distribution cost every year baked into the system. And it just becomes, it's twice the rate of inflation, sometimes 3 times the rate of inflation.
So as I understand, some of the people that used to be in the electric power producers are no longer generating, but they're Ameren is transmitting, and I guess ComEd is in the transmission business. So they're getting rate increases for the transmission lines? I guess.
Correct, yeah, for transmission and distribution. That's essentially what they're in the business of. They purchase power elsewhere, and then they wheel that power, they distribute that power to residents, customers, businesses and industry.
Is that going to be impacting the residential people as well?
Oh, absolutely. And residential customers will feel the same increases that commercial and industrial customers will feel. So
I think you mentioned right off the top, but to remind people, how many people approximately are employed in the chemical industry in the state?
Well, slightly over 46,000. We've added 1,400 jobs in the last 2 years. The average annual wage in the industry in 2017 was $114,000 a year. So we view ourselves as the Cadillac of blue-collar jobs. And we're the second largest manufacturing sector in the state, and hopefully we'll continue growing.
Have you heard, before we close out here, from any of your members that, are there some other states where they're saying, hey, if these increases hit us, then we're going to look to possibly move, or if we expand, not expand in Illinois?
Well, I haven't heard specifically in that instance, but what I can tell you is that companies look at the overall cost of doing business in a state, and they have some very smart folks. And unfortunately, a lot of the decisions now regarding Illinois facilities aren't made in Illinois; they're made elsewhere. And they, look at the plants they have around the country, and they make a determination on where they're going to invest their capital. And if Illinois all of a sudden is not competitive, then that capital goes to Ohio or Pennsylvania or Louisiana or Texas.
Mark Biel, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Terry.
Our officers.
Jeff Berkowitz, thanks for joining us on the Illinois Channel. We're going to take a bit of an in-depth look at the run for the mayor of Chicago. The Illinois Channel, keeping you connected to your state, your issues, your home.